Published 0534 EDT, the 28th of August 2017. Updated 0628 EDT, the 28th of August 2017. A homeless Polish-born lorry driver charged with drink driving after a motorway crash that killed 8 people and left a 5-year-old girl orphaned has appeared in court today. Ryszard Macierewicz, 31, of Evesham, Worcestershire, was in the dock at High Wycombe Magistrates Court today in connection with the smash on the M1 on Saturday, the most deadly for a generation. 6 men and 2 women travelling in a minibus, including its much-loved driver Cyriac Joseph, died in the worst tragedy on Britain's roads for nearly 25 years. Mr. Joseph's son Benson, wife Nancy and daughter Benita prayed for him in church yesterday at a special memorial service in his honour in Nottingham yesterday. 4 others, including the orphaned girl, were seriously hurt. She was trapped in the wreckage for more than an hour and was found under a seat. M1 crash victim Cyriac Joseph's son Benson, wife Nancy and daughter Benita left to right prayed for him in church yesterday at a special memorial service in his honour in Nottingham yesterday. Cyriac Joseph died in the horror crash where 8 people lost their lives. Married couple Mano Ranjan Panneerselvam and his wife Sangeetha were critically injured but have survived. 8 people died after Mr. Joseph's minibus, pictured above, was squashed flat after a crash with 2 lorries on the M1 on Saturday. A former flatmate of the lorry driver in court today said he had recently been divorced and that his transport business had closed down last year. The man, who asked not to be named, also said Macierewicz had served in the Polish army and had been living in a car for 2 months since splitting from his wife. His flatmate, who did not wish to be named, said that he had been trying to help him. He said, "He had been living in a car, so I wanted to help him. He was practically homeless. I can't believe what has happened." Police had called at his house on Saturday night to look at Macierewicz' passport and returned on Sunday to ask his flatmate about Macierewicz. Other residents confirmed that they were asked by police if they knew anything about him. Minibus driver Cyriac Joseph, 52, was also killed along with 3 Indian IT workers, Karthikeyan Ramasubramaniam Pugler, Rishi Rajiv Kumar and Vivek Bhaskaran. They were part of group of 11 family and friends travelling from Nottingham to London to go on a holiday to France. The trip had been organised by P. Manoranjan, who worked at IT firm Wipro in Nottingham with the other 3. His parents, who were visiting from India, were also in the minibus. Mr. Manoranjan, his wife and his mother survived the crash, but his father died along with his aunt and uncle and his 3 colleagues. One of the trio was the father of the little girl, whose mother was also killed. 2 lorries collided with the 16-seater minibus in the southbound carriageway, close to Junction 15 for Newport Pagnell, Buckinghamshire, at 3:15 a.m. Father of 2 Cyriac Joseph, who was driving the minibus, was the first person involved to be named. The 52-year-old's devastated wife Nancy, son Benson and daughter Benita attended a memorial service at St. Paul's Roman Catholic Church, on Lenton Boulevard, on Sunday morning. His bereaved son Benson said his father had booked the job to take the family visiting from India down to London. Benson said he missed his father so much already, as he heartbreakingly revealed he and his mother and sister had only just returned from holiday. He said, "We had not seen Dad for a while. He stayed home so he could keep running the company. That's when he agreed to take these clients. We hardly saw him after we got back. I miss him so much already." Pictured, the front of a FedEx lorry was completely caved in bottom right, while a second lorry appeared to have jackknifed across the M1 carriageway. The minibus was described as squashed. The first victim has been named as father of 2 and minibus driver Cyriac Joseph. Bottom left and top right. Some of those on board the minibus were visiting the UK from India and Thames Valley. Police said this evening it's possible all 8 people who were killed were from the same family. Bank holiday horror. The smashed-up cab of the FedEx lorry involved in a fatal crash being towed away from the scene as 4 others remain in hospital. Around 100 people gathered for the near 2-hour service, held to remember their friend. A friend of one of the victims of the M1 horror crash has paid tribute to Vivek Bhaskaran. The 26-year-old senior project engineer had moved to Nottingham from Chennai in India in April. He had planned to come to the UK for 2 years and was working for a customer on behalf of Indian IT firm Wipro. His friend Praveen J., who lives in India, said, "A very honest friend I ever had. A very cool, caring and courageous guy. He was an excellent leader and performer. He is liked by many. I am totally astonished to hear his demise news in a very tragic way. May his soul rest in peace. May God bless his parents with all strength, courage and love which they are in need at the moment." Mr. Bhaskaran was not married and did not have any children. Matthew John, a spokesman for the family and Nancy's cousin, paid tribute to him. The 41-year-old, also of Sherwood, said he was a great dad and he was always a family-oriented person, and a very loving person. He was a great leader, involved in a lot of community activities. He was very active with the local church. He was a very hard-working person. He did what he thought was best for his family. When he came from India, he had the courage to start his own business. He was successfully doing that, and sadly this happened, a great loss for the entire community. Mr. Joseph moved to Nottingham from India 13 years ago and set up company ABC Travels, which he ran from his home in Linby Close. In 2008, Father B.G. Joseph of Arnold had been supporting the family after the horror crash. The 38-year-old said he was such a wonderful man. He was a very good family man. He was hardworking and very generous. He was such a lovely person. That's why we feel this is a great loss for all of us. Mr. Joseph leaves behind wife Nancy, a cardiac nurse at Nottingham City Hospital, son Benson, who had just been offered a place at the University of Birmingham to study cybersecurity, and daughter Benita, who had just collected her GCSE results, which were all either as or as. 6 men and 2 women have been killed in the M1 collision in Newport Pagnell, and 1 man, 1 woman and a 5-year-old girl are in hospital with life-threatening injuries, Thames Valley Police have said. The remains of the minibus, which is in 2 pieces, or pictured being removed from scene on the M1 motorway. Pictured visible skid marks can be seen in the left-hand lane, while the churned-up bridge shows where vehicles collided with the bank. The accident happened just after 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, involving 2 lorries and a minibus, thought to have been travelling from Nottingham. Lorry driver Mossy Eric, of Evesham, Worcestershire, appeared at High Wycombe Magistrates Court today, charged with 8 counts of causing death by dangerous driving, 4 counts of causing serious injury by dangerous driving, and 8 counts of causing death by careless driving while over the prescribed alcohol limit. A second lorry driver, David Wagstaff, 53, of Stoke-on-Trent, has also been charged with 8 counts of causing death by dangerous driving and 4 counts of causing serious injury by dangerous driving in connection with the smash. He was bailed to appear at Milton Keynes Magistrates Court on September 11. Witnesses described horrific scenes, and photos of the aftermath show the serious damage caused to the minibus, which was left a mangled wreck. Other images show a FedEx lorry with its cab crushed and a twisted AIM logistics truck. Mr. Joseph, owner of ABC Travels, had picked up the group from Nottingham and they were 80 miles into their journey when the crash happened. Mani Balasubramanian, the director of a local news station in Chennai, said his sister, Sri Valley Panneerselvam, and her husband, A. Panneerselvam, were on the bus. They had travelled to the UK to see their son Mr. Manoranjan, who had moved to Nottingham 6 months earlier to work for Wipro. He said that 2 days after arriving the family made a last-minute plan to tour France for a week. Also on the trip was Mr. Manoranjan's wife Sangeetha, who also survived. But his uncle Arachel Kanarunachalaman and Tamil Mani, 55, were killed. The 5-year-old girl was trapped under a seat. Passerby Brett Smith, 36, told how he held her hand and promised her McDonald's as they waited for the emergency services. She was in a critical condition in hospital last night, with 2 others. A 4th injured passenger, a woman, was in a serious but stable condition. Mr. Balasubramanian, 54, said, "We learnt about the accident in the morning. My brother-in-law and his sister and her husband died." Pictured Syriac Joseph was killed outright when his minibus carrying 11 passengers was involved in a crash with 2 lorries. Manoranjan Panneerselvam, pictured, was critically injured in the accident. ADHD charity advocate Brett Smith, 36, from Milton Keynes, said the minibus was filled with blood when he reached it, and spoke of his horror as he held a girl's hand to comfort her. Pictured right, Mr. Smith showing his injuries. Tributes. Dozens gathered at Syriac's local church in Sherwood, Nottingham yesterday afternoon for his special memorial service following the tragic news. Friends and family paid tribute to Mr. Joseph, known as Benny, and described him as a hard-working family man. Originally from Kerala in southern India, where he studied botany, he moved with his wife Nancy, 52, and their 2 children to the UK more than 10 years ago. He set up his own business in 2008. Friend Manu Zachariah, 45, said Syriac was not like normal fathers. He would love to spend his money and time on his children like none of his friends. He was always very encouraging of their extracurricular activities. He was an extraordinary father, and would do anything for his friends. He was always there for us and will be really missed. The road was closed for 10 hours after the crash. The death toll is the highest from a crash on a British motorway since 1993, when 12 children and their teacher died in a crash on the M40. Spokesman for AIM Logistics and FedEx expressed sympathies to those who lost loved ones in the crash, and said they were assisting police with their inquiries. Police have appealed for witnesses.